What if I told you that the very reason humans dominate the planet isn't our brains, our tools, or even our language, but our butts? Yes, you heard me right. That cushion you sit on all day long is one of the greatest evolutionary superpowers in human history. We don't just have big butts for looks or for comfort. Our glutes are actually the secret engine that allowed our ancestors to walk upright, run for miles, and outlast every predator on the savannah. Think about it. Compared to chimps, gorillas, or even elephants, our butts are shockingly large for our body size. And yet, most of us have no idea why. What's hiding beneath the fat, beneath the skin, is one of the strongest muscles in your entire body, the gluteus maximus. Without it, we wouldn't stand tall, we wouldn't chase, we wouldn't survive. Welcome to the Wellness Way. Today we're going to uncover the shocking truth about why humans have the biggest butts in the animal kingdom and how training yours could change not just your body, but your health and your future. So stick around, hit that subscribe button, and support the channel, because trust me, you'll never look at your butt the same way again. When most people think about the human body, they tend to highlight the obvious symbols of strength and intelligence. The brain, the heart, the hands, or maybe the eyes. Rarely does anyone stop and say, you know what's really extraordinary about us? Our butts. And yet, that might be the most overlooked truth in all of human evolution. Because hidden behind the jokes, the vanity, and the endless fitness trends lies one of the most important secrets of our survival, the gluteus maximus. Let me step back for a moment. If you lined up humans against our closest relatives, chimps, gorillas, orangutans, you'd notice something pretty striking. They have flat backsides, their rears are small, barely noticeable, and certainly not the kind of rounded, powerful shape that we humans carry. And if you compared us proportionally to even massive animals like elephants, we'd still come out on top in terms of butt-to-body ratio. Elephants may weigh tons, but their butts are simply extensions of their bulk. Ours, on the other hand, are disproportionately large, and that should make you pause and ask why. The truth is, our butts are not just fat cushions. They're anchored by the gluteus maximus, the largest muscle in the human body by volume. This muscle doesn't just sit there passively. It is thick, powerful, and always ready to fire. Its size and strength are not random. They are the product of millions of years of evolution. And to understand why it grew so big, you have to step into the shoes, or more accurately, the bare feet of our ancestors. Imagine the world 2 million years ago. Early humans like Homo erectus lived on the open plains of Africa. Food wasn't at the supermarket. Survival meant chasing prey, climbing, foraging, and covering long distances every single day. Unlike our primate cousins who could rely on strength in their arms for climbing trees or knuckle walking on all fours, we had already committed to a life on 2 legs. Standing upright freed our hands for tools and carrying, but it also came with a huge biomechanical problem: balance. How do you keep your torso from pitching forward every time you step? How do you maintain speed and power over long distances when predators and prey alike can outrun you in a sprint? That's where the gluteus maximus comes in. Every time you take a step, every time your foot plants on the ground, your upper body wants to topple forward. The gluteus maximus contracts, pulling you back upright, stabilizing your pelvis, and allowing you to move smoothly, without collapsing into a heap. It is the unsung hero of human locomotion. Without it, we wouldn't have been able to refine bipedal walking and running. We wouldn't have developed endurance hunting, the strategy that allowed small, relatively slow humans to literally run down faster animals over long distances until they collapsed from exhaustion. Think about that. Our butts are the reason our ancestors ate. It's almost poetic, the very part of the body we often make fun of today. The butt was the powerhouse that gave us an evolutionary edge. Strong glutes meant stability, they meant stamina, they meant survival. And over time, natural selection favored individuals with larger, more efficient glute muscles because they could travel farther, hunt more effectively, and endure the harsh demands of life on the savannah. But the gluteus maximus wasn't working alone. Alongside it were two other crucial muscles, the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus. These smaller, less famous partners had their own roles. While the maximus handled raw power, the medius and minimus acted like stabilizers on a tightrope. Every time you lifted one leg to step forward, gravity wanted to pull your pelvis downward. Without correction, you'd wobble and stumble with every stride. The medius and minimus kept the pelvis level, quietly firing with each step to prevent your hips from dipping. Together, the trio of gluteal muscles formed a perfect system for upright walking and efficient running. Now let's pause and challenge a common assumption. Ask someone today why humans have big butts, and they'll probably laugh and say it's because of fat, diet, or maybe genetics. And sure, fat distribution does play a role in how individual butts look. Some people store more adipose tissue there than others, but that's not what sets humans apart as a species. Plenty of animals have fat. What they don't have is a massive, consistently powerful gluteus maximus. That's the real story. Our butts aren't just for sitting, they are engines of movement, sculpted by necessity and refined by evolution. Personally, this realization changed the way I see my own body. For years, like most people, I saw the butt through a cultural lens, a symbol of attraction, something to be shaped at the gym or critiqued in the mirror. But when I learned how central it is to our story as humans, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. This isn't just about looks. Every squat, every run, every climb up a staircase is a reminder of the incredible design that kept our species alive for millions of years. My glutes are not just muscles. They are a living link to the struggles and triumphs of my ancestors. And the more you think about it, the more you realize how much we take this for granted. We marvel at human intelligence, our ability to build civilizations, invent technology, and explore space. But none of that would have been possible if our bodies hadn't first been equipped to move efficiently on two legs. The butt came before the brain, in a sense, because before we could create, we had to survive. Before we could innovate, we had to run. And before we could dream, we had to stand tall. The gluteus maximus made that possible. It makes me wonder how differently we'd view fitness, health, and even our identities if we reframed the butt, not as a punchline or an object of vanity, but as a symbol of endurance, resilience, and power. What if every time you did a squat or a lunge, you weren't just working out, but reconnecting with a part of yourself that once defined survival? What if every ache in your glutes after a tough workout was really a reminder of what your body is capable of the miles your ancestors traveled, the prey they chased, the predators they outlasted? The human butt isn't just big, it's glorious, it's functional. It's a masterpiece of evolution that deserves respect. And next time you look in the mirror or laugh at a joke about butts, I hope you'll remember this. That curve, that shape, that strength beneath the skin. It is the reason you stand where you are today. a descendant of survivors who owed their very lives to the power of their glutes. For most of human history, the glutes were never optional. They were not a muscle group you activated on purpose, nor something you trained with squats, lunges, or deadlifts. They were simply part of life. Walking miles to find water, running after prey, climbing hills, hauling firewood, crouching to cook or gather. Every one of these daily actions demanded strong, active glutes. You didn't need a gym membership. Survival itself was the workout program. But today, in the modern world of office chairs, cars, and couches, something has shifted dramatically. We still carry the evolutionary blueprint for powerful glutes, yet many of us have let them fall silent. I first learned the term dead butt syndrome from a physical therapist friend of mine. At first I laughed. It sounded like some internet meme or a phrase you'd find in a fitness magazine to grab attention. But the more I listened, the more serious it became. This so-called syndrome refers to what happens when our glute muscles essentially forget how to activate properly because of prolonged sitting and inactivity. And though it's not a medical diagnosis in the official sense, the effects are very real. Weak glutes can lead to knee pain, low back pain, poor posture, and even injuries that ripple through the body. Suddenly, dead butt syndrome didn't seem so funny anymore. Think about how the average day unfolds for many of us. We wake up, sit at the breakfast table, sit in the car on the way to work, sit at a desk for 8 hours, drive home, and then collapse into the couch for the evening. Sure, maybe we squeeze in a workout here or there, but for the majority of the day our glutes are pressed flat against a chair, inactive, understimulated and neglected. Muscles are like relationships. They weaken when ignored. And our glutes, once the powerhouse of human movement, are now among the most neglected muscles in the body. I've personally felt this disconnect. During a particularly busy season of work, I found myself glued to my computer for long stretches, sometimes 10 or 12 hours a day. I didn't think much of it until I started noticing a dull ache in my lower back. At first, I blamed my chair. Then I thought maybe it was stress. But when I finally went to a trainer, he had me do some simple tests. A few bridges, a few single leg stands, and to my surprise, my glutes were barely firing. My body had adapted to my lifestyle by letting my glutes go offline. The result was that other muscles, my lower back, my hamstrings, were overcompensating, and that imbalance was causing pain. This is the hidden cost of modern living. Our ancestors didn't need to activate their glutes. They lived in a way that demanded constant activation. But in a world where comfort and convenience rule, the natural movement patterns that once kept our glutes strong have all but disappeared. The fallout isn't just aesthetic either. Weak glutes can compromise the way we walk and run, leading to inefficiencies and higher risks of injury. They can tilt the pelvis into unhealthy positions, straining the spine. They can throw off alignment in the knees, making every step a potential stress point. In short, when the butt forgets its purpose, the whole body suffers. And yet, here's the paradox. At the same time, our glutes are becoming weaker than ever. Culturally, we are more obsessed with butts than any generation before us. Magazines, music, fashion, social media, all of them elevate the butt as an object of desire, a symbol of attractiveness. It's ironic, isn't it? We idolize the appearance of the butt while ignoring its true function. We chase size or shape without asking whether those muscles actually work the way they're supposed to. We celebrate curves but overlook strength. For me, that realization was sobering. I had spent years in gyms, occasionally throwing in squats or lunges, mostly as part of a routine to stay fit. But when I understood how much my glutes had weakened from sitting, I saw those exercises differently. They weren't just about aesthetics anymore. They were about reclaiming something essential that I had lost. Every rep felt like a message to my body. Wake up, remember what you're supposed to do. And here's the thing, this isn't just about athletes or fitness enthusiasts. It's about everyone. Whether you're a runner chasing performance, a parent lifting your child, or an office worker trying to avoid back pain, the health of your glutes matters. They are the foundation for stability, posture, and power. Neglect them, and you'll feel the consequences in ways you might not expect. Strengthen them, and suddenly your whole body works better. But as with all things in health, awareness is the first step. We need to stop treating the butt as just an object of vanity and start seeing it as the critical engine of movement that it truly is. Sitting too much is a reality of modern life. We can't all go back to chasing antelope on the plains. But what we can do is be intentional. We can stand more, walk more, take the stairs, break up hours of sitting with simple movements. And yes, we can train our glutes directly, not just to build a nice shape, but to restore the power and balance they were meant to provide. When I finally committed to this shift, the difference was striking. My back pain eased, my posture improved, and I felt stronger in everyday movements I used to take for granted. It wasn't about becoming a bodybuilder or sculpting the perfect physique. It was about reconnecting with the natural design of my body, honoring the evolutionary gift that my ancestors had relied on. And honestly, it gave me a new respect for something I had once thought of as ordinary. The modern butt may have forgotten its purpose, but it doesn't have to stay that way. The glutes are resilient. They respond quickly when challenged, when reawakened. Every squat, every hip thrust, every step uphill is like a spark reminding your body of what it was built to do. We may live in a world that makes our muscles lazy, but we still carry the potential for power within us. The question is, are we willing to reclaim it? When I first learned about how important the glutes are, I felt both amazed and frustrated. Amazed because I realized that these muscles were one of the keys to human evolution, and frustrated because I had spent years neglecting them. Sure, I had done the occasional squat or jog, but I never really understood that my glutes weren't just there for looks. They were engines that needed to be trained, strengthened, and maintained. The good news is that it's never too late to wake them up. The glutes are incredibly responsive, and when you give them the right kind of attention, they come alive in ways that transform your body, your health, and even how you feel day to day. The first thing I learned is that training your glutes isn't about endless fancy exercises or complicated routines. It's about focusing on movements that demand hip extension, the very action that the gluteus maximus was designed to perform. Think of exercises where you push your hips forward, stand tall, or drive your leg backward. These movements mimic what our ancestors did naturally when they climbed, ran, or stood upright. And even though modern life doesn't give us the same opportunities, the gym, or even just our living rooms can. Deadlifts were one of the first exercises that opened my eyes. At first, the motion felt intimidating, pulling a weight from the ground, keeping the back straight, driving through the hips. But once I got the form right, I could feel exactly where the power was coming from, deep in the glutes. Unlike some isolated movements that only work a single muscle, deadlifts engage the entire posterior chain, glutes, hamstrings, lower back. They teach your body to move as a unit, to generate power from the hips, not just the legs. And the feeling of standing tall with the weight locked out at the top is almost primal, like you're tapping into something ancient inside yourself. Then there were squats. I had done them before, but casually, without depth or purpose. Once I started paying attention, I realized that squats were one of the purest ways to challenge the glutes. The deeper I went, the more they fired. It wasn't about piling on as much weight as possible. It was about form, control, and full range of motion. A quarter squat barely wakes them up, but a full, deep squat, that lights them on fire, in the best way. And beyond strength, squats reminded me of something essential. This is how humans have always moved. Sitting by a fire, picking something from the ground, resting in a squat position. It's one of the most natural things we can do, and yet we've forgotten it. Training squats felt like reclaiming that lost movement. The exercise that surprised me the most, though, was the hip thrust. It looks almost silly at first, lying on your back with shoulders on a bench, driving your hips upward against resistance. But once I tried it, I understood why it's become a favourite for athletes and trainers. It isolates the glutes in a way few other exercises do. After a few sets, the burn is undeniable. It's like you've shaken the glutes awake after years of letting them doze off. And for me, it was humbling to realise how weak they had been. Something so simple, yet so effective, showed me exactly where my gaps were. Beyond these big three, I discovered the power of unilateral exercises, movements that work one side at a time, lunges, step-ups, single-leg squats. At first, I underestimated them. How hard could it be to step onto a bench or bend one knee? But the challenge wasn't just strength, it was stability. My gluteus, medius and minimus, the smaller stabilizers, had to fire like crazy to keep me balanced. The soreness the next day was a wake-up call. These exercises reminded me that strength isn't just about lifting heavy. It's about control, balance, and making sure each side of the body pulls its weight. As I built a routine, I realized something important. Training glutes isn't about doing them every single day. Muscles grow and adapt when they're challenged, but they also need time to recover. For most people, 1 to 2 focused glute sessions a week is enough to spark progress, especially when combined with other forms of training. The key is consistency. Just as our ancestors relied on daily movement to keep these muscles strong, we need regular reminders to keep them engaged. Skipping weeks or only training sporadically won't cut it. This is about forming habits that last. The beauty of glute training is that it pays dividends far beyond appearance. Once I committed to it, I noticed changes in my posture. I stood taller, my lower back felt supported, and walking felt smoother. My knees, which had nagged me during runs, started to feel better because my glutes were finally sharing the workload. Even everyday tasks like climbing stairs or carrying groceries felt easier. The strength in the glutes rippled outward, improving everything else. That's when I realized, training your butt isn't about vanity. It's about reclaiming the natural function your body was designed for. Still, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't an emotional element too. Watching the shape of my body change, feeling more confident, seeing the muscles come alive, it was motivating. For years I had thought of glute training as something superficial, but it became deeply personal. It wasn't about chasing trends or fitting into a cultural mold. It was about honoring my own body, giving attention to muscles that had carried humanity through millennia, but had been neglected in my own life. There's also something empowering about the simplicity of it all. You don't need fancy equipment or a professional gym. Deadlifts can be done with dumbbells, squats with just your body weight, hip thrusts with a chair and a resistance band. Lunges and step-ups require nothing but space. The barrier to entry is low, but the rewards are immense. That accessibility means anyone, anywhere can begin the process of reawakening their glutes. And once you start, the progress is addictive. The soreness fades into strength, the weakness turns into power, and before long, you feel connected to a part of yourself you may not have even realized was missing. At the end of the day, training the glutes is about more than muscles. It's about remembering that our bodies were built to move, not to sit. Remembering that the butt isn't just a cushion, it's a driving force of survival. Remembering that strength, balance, and power are within us, waiting to be tapped. Every time I step into a workout now, I think of it not as building something new, but as waking up something old. A sleeping giant that has been there all along. And so I'll leave you with this thought. Your glutes are not lazy by nature. They've simply been forgotten. The question isn't whether they can be strong. The question is whether you will give them the chance to prove it. When I look back at everything I've learned about the human butt, I'm struck by how much it has changed the way I see myself. What I once thought of as ordinary, even a little funny, has become something I respect deeply. The glutes are not just another muscle group to tone at the gym. They are a symbol of our history, our survival, and our potential for strength. Think about it. Without strong glutes, our ancestors wouldn't have stood upright, hunted, or endured the endless miles across plains and mountains. Without them, we wouldn't have had the stability to build communities, the endurance to travel, or the resilience to thrive in harsh environments. The butt isn't a side note in our evolution, it's a cornerstone. And yet today, in a world built for sitting, we've let that cornerstone crumble. We've traded endurance for convenience, strength for comfort. But here's the lesson I've taken away. Just because modern life makes us weaker doesn't mean we have to stay that way. The human body is remarkably adaptable. Even if your glutes have been asleep for years, you can wake them up. You can reclaim the strength that was written into your DNA. And you don't need to chase perfection or follow some impossible standard. You just need to move, to train, and to respect the power that's already within you. For me, the shift was personal. Once I began training my glutes with purpose, deadlifts, squats, hip thrusts, lunges, I noticed the changes not only in my body, but in my mindset. I felt grounded, supported, and confident in ways I hadn't expected. The pain in my lower back faded. My posture improved. But even more than that, I felt connected to something bigger, the story of humanity itself. Every time I trained, I wasn't just working on muscles. I was honoring a legacy, strengthening the same part of the body that had carried my ancestors through the toughest battles for survival. And that's what I hope you take away from this. Training your glutes is not about vanity. It's about vitality. It's about giving your body the chance to function as it was designed. It's about standing taller, moving with confidence, and knowing that you're not just exercising, you're reconnecting with the very reason humans stand out in the animal kingdom. So here's my question to you. Have you been taking your glutes for granted? Or are you ready to wake them up and see what they can really do for you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you found value in this journey, make sure to subscribe to The Wellness Way. Your support helps us create more content to inspire, challenge, and empower you to live stronger, healthier, and more connected to the incredible body you already have.